Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Flash Tutorials with Alan Becker. So I thought it would be a good idea to go through some of the techniques that I used in this animation that I made called If Water Had Eyes. So what I did in this animation a lot was use nested symbols, like symbols inside symbols, or like animations within animations, and that's how I achieved some of the snowflakes getting created. There's a lot of stuff going on, but it's actually pretty simple. So we will go over doing that. Okay, so let's say that I want to make a bouncing ball. I'm just going to give you an example of when you want to do a nested animation. So if I make my ball, I hit F8 to make it, and I say ball. So let's say that I want it to just bounce, like go up and come back down. I want it to be realistic. So I click F6 down here and F6 again, move it up here, and then for this one, move it here. And then I make it create a classic tween, and then play. Okay, that's not looking very realistic. So let's give it an ease. So I put on an ease out for this one, and then an ease in. So now it gets slow at the top and then goes back down. So if I play it, no, that is not looking realistic. So this is a good example of when you want to do a nested symbol, because the X motion that is going in needs to be constant, while the Y motion needs to be ease in, ease out. So in this instance, we want to isolate the X motion in the outside while keeping the Y motion inside of another symbol. So let's undo all this, or just remove tween and then Shift F5. So what we have to do is turn it into another symbol. Put this symbol inside of another symbol. So convert to symbol, F8, and I will call this ball bounce. If I go inside of it, then you can see that we are inside ball bounce, and if I click on it again, we are inside ball. So this is a nested animation, or a nested symbol. If I want to click out of this ball, then I go back to ball bounce. If I want to go out of there, I click scene 1. I'm going to do the bouncing up and back down. So I create a classic tween, and then I give it an ease out and ease in, and now it looks like that. So that looks realistic. Now we want it to move this way. So I have to go outside of it, and then I hit F6 and then move it down. Wait, let me make sure that it is on the right frame. I want to make it land on the same frame. So it is on frame 20, so I go to frame 20, hit F6, move it to the side, and then classic tween. So watch this. Much more realistic. Yeah. So compared to the thing where it's like it's making a nice arc. So that is an instance where you want to do a nested animation. So let's take a look at this FLA file, or this animation where the little water droplet with eyes is looking around at all the little water droplets around him, and it looks like they're all moving on a different layer, and they are, but each one is just a small animation, or a short animation that is in another tween, if that makes sense. So this, if I isolate that, this is one layer that is moving up at a certain rate. This is another layer, and this is another layer, and this is another layer. So they're each moving at a different rate to give the illusion of depth, even though of course this is a two-dimensional monitor. They are moving different speeds to give the illusion of depth. So let's just try that. Let's say that I want to make a bunch of balls rise up on different layers. So I would remove frames, remove tween, and then I would hold down Alt and then click and drag, and then you can create a lot of balls. Yep, it's a lot of balls. So now I select all of them and put them in their own layer. Balls. Then I make a new layer and take my ball and then press Q, make it smaller, and then hold down Alt and then click and drag it around. Oops. So I press this layer, Control or F8, and then balls 2, and then I'm going to make another layer on top of that with big ones, and then make them into another symbol. So right now, yeah, you can kind of see the depth, but what really sells the illusion of depth is moving them at different speeds. So we move this one up fast, move this one just a little bit, and this one even less. So if I give it a classic tween, you can see the illusion. So what I did in here was have each one of them have its own little animation. If I click into it, then you see that in here, called Vapor 1, is this animation, and then outside of that, this is inside of this, which is a bunch of symbols with their own little timeline that runs here. And then this animation is looping in this scene, which is outside of it, which is where it slowly moves up. So if this were animated, I could do that. So I could go back in to one of the balls and then like give it a 10 frame shiny thing. And let's see, if I take the brush tool and set it to white and then just give it a shiny thing, let's try that. And you can see it just updates on every single one of them, which is nice. I want to see the previous frame. So I put it on wireframe so I can see the previous frame a little bit better, because white usually doesn't show very well. Okay. Turn off that, turn off that. Now there's a little animation that runs, and if I want that animation to also play outside of itself, it needs enough frames to be able to play. So it has 10 frames. If I go back out, then I put 10 frames here also so that these can play. And so the ones in the front are playing, the ones in the back aren't, because they don't have 10 frames. I wonder why they just moved. Oh, because they are ball instances of ball bounce. I'm going to break them apart. And now we give this one 10 frames. So now they're all animating and they're moving up. So that's how you can use nested animations. Now another thing is, how do you get them all rotated differently and moving kind of different in a different pattern. So you can also use what's called the spray brush tool to spray these symbols in a random fashion. So let's hide all of these, and then let's make a new symbol really quick. And let's change this to like greenish, and turn this off. Take this off. Turn it into a little, I don't know, green rectangle, and then make it animate really quickly. Let's give it a little something happening. I apologize, I have nothing, absolutely nothing in mind as I'm making this. That's really dumb. I'm not gonna do this. I'm gonna make it something else, something exciting. Okay, this is probably going to end up looking pretty gross, but I'm going to fill each one in. Select all these frames, select all, and make the line invisible. Alright, so that is a quick little animation that I call green. Thank you very much. And I'm going to spray using the spray brush tool. Okay, so the spray brush tool allows you to spray, oh my god, spray stuff. I can spray symbols. So if I click edit under symbol, I can choose my green, and now I can spray little greens. So you can choose to rotate the symbol and also to randomize the rotation. You want to do that, otherwise it will look like the same rotation each time. So randomize the rotation. Yeah. So you also want to make sure your brush is really big. Sometimes when you start it's like really small, so you get everything clustered like that. So make it big. Alright, so if I click play, it looks pretty gross. Yeah, they're all squirming on their own little timeline, except if you notice, the timeline is exactly the same for each one. They all start and stop on the same exact frame. So to get around this, you have to change the looping. So if I click on the first original one, under here looping, it starts on frame 1, and that'll be the same for each one of these. So we'll need to change them. So right now they're all grouped in their own little groups because the brush tool, spray brush tool, just does that. So I have to break them apart if I right click, so that they're all their own little symbols. And now I'm going to hold down Shift and then click, 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 and then go down to looping and change the looping to, let's say, 4. Yeah, 4. So now every other one is on a different timeline, but we want more variation than that, so I'm just gonna randomly click another bunch and then change them to 6. How many frames are in here anyway? 9. So we can do a random number in between 1 and 9. Let's say 3. And then just keep doing it until you feel like you have enough randomization. 2. So Enter. Now they look pretty gross. A lot of them are still on the same timeline. Okay. So again, you can do the same thing we did before with the atmospheric or with the perspective by isolating some of them. You can also make some of them more faded out if you go down to color effect and then alpha, and it looks like they're more farther back, but you probably also want to make them smaller and on a different layer. So cut, paste. Yeah. And also copy. Yeah, okay. So I know that this is a lot to understand or take in, but real quickly we can go back in here and kind of examine what's going on. So each one of these symbols is a going back and forth symbol, which inside of that is a little blob that is blobbing. If I go further in the scene, then you'll see the snowflakes get bigger, so I have to open up the next one or the next one. So yeah, each one of these is an animation. Look at this, where each little thing comes out. Well, this thing, or this thing, is another one of these blobs. This is a glow thing, I guess. And see, the animation is in Vapor Snowflake, and then I convert that to another symbol called Vapor Snowflake Moving, which is how I make it go back and forth like that. And once I have that, then I can use the spray brush tool and just make a ton of them, and then just make sure that they all start on a different frame. This one starts at frame 50, this one starts at frame 60, frame 11, frame 10, frame 1. So yeah, I guess that was pretty tedious. And also they are all different opacities. Looks like they're all on one layer here, but because of the different opacities, they look like they're on different layers and different sizes too. So that's a basic demonstration of nested animations. If you have any more questions, please contact me through my website, and if you have any requests for animation tutorials or Flash tutorials, please also tell me about that. And I hope you guys have fun animating, and I'll see you guys later.